Hi again, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Starting Five here on HMTV6. I'm Mark Keller, sports editor of the Herald-Mail newspaper, joined by sports reporter Tim Kelby. We'll be talking some high school basketball here in this segment. And few of the high school basketball tournaments got played over the holidays, Tim, but the Richard Daub Classic down at Williamsport, not quite a classic yet, huh?
Well, both Williamsport teams, boys and girls, were looking to get titles on Saturday after they had won Friday, but Mother Nature kind of took care of that. So we'll see what happens down the road. Supposedly those games are going to be rescheduled, and we'll see if they have that determination as an actual champion. We'll have to see what happens with that. And then the girls, the Hancock tournament got totally wiped out, so they lost both nights up there.
Yeah, the Daub tournament, Greencastle and Williamsport, and the boys game, that'll be played on January 12th. Allegheny and Williamsport were set to play in the girls' final. That will be played on February 19th, so right before the playoffs to get underway, that they'll get that game in. Let's talk about some girls basketball right now, and there's a big game coming up here on Friday.
Friday night, yep.
Catoctin against South Hagerstown. Both teams playing real well right now.
It'll be an early season showdown. Both teams are 3-0 in the Antietam Conference. Catoctin comes to town with South Hagerstown coming off what was a really big victory for them Friday in the first game of the Hampshire tournament, when they beat Martinsburg fairly handily, too, 61-34. They didn't get to play the finals on Saturday, of course, but the winner will have a little bit of an advantage of that as we go into the middle part of the season. Yeah,
traditional power, Martinsburg down there in the Panhandle, and South Hagerstown has established itself as one of the best teams here in the area. What does getting a win over a Martinsburg do for them?
Well, I think it does big things psychologically for them. But even more important now, we'll see how they handle that victory and go up against Catoctin, which we know has been a strong 1A girls power for several years. And here they are again, unbeaten in the conference. So we're going to learn whether or not Catoctin or whether South can put back-to-back showings together now.
South and Catoctin obviously have sort of separated themselves. What about North Hagerstown, Williamsport, Boonesboro?
North is only 1-4, the girls, but they're going to have an opportunity now. They've got Williamsport, they've got Boonesboro, who's coming along fairly nicely right now. They're going to have an opportunity to right their problems here in the next couple of games with Crystal McLeod leading the way. I know that 1-4 is not a typical North high girls basketball record right now. They lost a lot to graduation. So this is going to be their opportunity to see if they're good enough to get back in the mix.
Let's switch over to the boys now and stick with the MVAO Antietam at this point. 5 teams with one loss already in the Antietam. Yeah. It's kind of anybody's ball game there,
it is.
Isn't it?
North is on top by half a game right now. They're 3-1. And then you've got the other 4 teams with one loss, South, Brunswick. I think this is going to be a deal where by the time the end of the season comes, the champion of the Antietam Conference is going to have 4 or 5 losses. And I'm even thinking that South Hagerstown is not going to be as dominant down the road as we all thought they might have been at the beginning of the year. They've just not put it all together right now. We're still waiting for everybody to click on that team. If they do, they can dominate.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask, is it that those teams are that balanced, or is it that South or nobody else has really?
I think it's a combination.
Yeah.
Excuse me, it really is. We've got Devin King playing fairly well. He's nowhere near what he can be right now. Kevin White, Michael Hill, they're playing okay basketball right now. Xavier Freeman's the guard. He's doing all right. But, they're just not the solid. North is a team that could really step up and surprise a lot of people. I think after their showing in the holiday mixer that they've got potential. And, of course, South won both their games. And that was a nice victory they had over Waynesboro.
Yeah, you got to see both North and South in that tournament, and even said that, well, North probably should have won.
Yeah, they could have won. They could have won the first game. They just had a couple they had a lot of turnovers, and that's been Kevin Hartman's bugaboo with that team so far. But it was a game that was winnable, and they bounced back and then won the game they played on Friday against Middletown.
Turnovers, and any coach will tell you that. And Kevin Naylor at South was worried about the turnovers as well early in the season.
For sure.
Let's go to a couple of the private school teams. And St. Maria Goretti sort of turned the corner a little bit on a 3-game winning streak here now.
Yeah, they're up to a 10-5 record. Tyrus Fleetwood is eliminating his turnover problem as a number 2 guard on that team, and that is really helping them, especially on offense. He's got his point average up to 14 points a game. Great support for Martin Gebbin, who's averaging about close to 17 a game. And they've got a couple biggies coming up after McDonough non-conference game. They've got a tough one at home against John Carroll, and then they go on the road and play at Mount St. Joe.
Yeah, that BCL, there's really no breaks in that BCL, is there? St. James, another team that was on the skids a little bit,
Yeah,
but they
were.
sort of righted the ship.
6-game losing streak, and they turn around and they won their last 2 games of the weekend tournament at Mount Vernon, Virginia. Obi and Ekionia obviously is the big deal for St. James, but what has helped them is they finally got the return of 6'7" A.J. Carr. First 2 games he's played this year. He's had injuries and came back in double figures in both games they won.
Now, what would we see? Once upon a time here in town, we would see North and South Hagerstown play against St. Maria Goretti and some of the private schools. What would we see if we saw?
Now, you didn't tell me you were going to put me on the spot
Well,
with that one.
we'll throw that out there.
Well, we'd see some great basketball, I think, and it's too bad that it doesn't happen. I'd love to see it happen. I know that there are people outside of the schools that would like to see it happen. There are people that are at particular schools that would like to see it happen, but they know that the others just don't want to accept the fact that there is, how should we say, there's recruiting going on. And they just don't want to play them.
But wouldn't something like a holiday tournament that doesn't affect North and South Hagerstown, doesn't affect the public schools in terms of playoff seeding, anything like that, there's your perfect opportunity.
Well, the perfect opportunity right there is the North Holiday Mixer. Let's get, there's nothing against the other schools participating, but we don't need Loudoun County, Virginia. Let's get Goretti and St. James in the 18 tournament for the 2 days. Well, why not? If you don't want to play them, then put Goretti against Washington or St. James against whoever. It'd be great. It really would. Just do it.
Well, we'll
Just
see
do
if
it,
that
Kevin.
happens.
Kevin Hartman, do it.
We'll see if that happens. Real quick, some wrestling notes. Nick Miller and Brian Davis from Williamsport won their weight classes over the weekend at the Damascus tournament. Smithsburg's Dalton Kondo, Travis Leopold, Saul Herrera won their weight classes at the Leopard Holiday Invitational. And then coming up this weekend, we got the first major high school indoor track events of the season at HCC, the MVAL Championship. So we'll have some on that next week. More on the starting 5 coming up soon.